Hey everyone, happy Sunday. It's September 21st, and I've got two immigration stories for you that say a lot about how enforcement is shaping everyday life, from neighborhood street corners to high-tech work sites. Let's start in Chicago. If you've walked through the city's street markets lately, you might have noticed they feel quieter. A federal sweep called Operation Midway Blitz kicked off in early September, drawing hundreds of Homeland Security staff to the city. Since then, vendors in Latino and Black neighborhoods have been slipping away from their usual spots. Folks who used to set up near train stops or on busy corners are keeping low profiles or skipping outdoor sales altogether. Only a few people have been arrested so far, and officials say those involved face serious charges. But even limited arrests can shake a community. Think about how many families rely on weekend sales to cover rent or groceries, and how many small businesses count on that street energy to bring foot traffic. When vendors disappear, you lose more than a market stall. You lose a piece of the neighborhood's culture and economy. This is the tension a lot of cities wrestle with. How to enforce the law without hollowing out the seams that make the place feel alive. For Chicago, the next stretch could determine whether these markets bounce back or whether the chill sticks. Will vendors feel safe enough to return? Will local leaders step in with outreach or clearer guidance? We'll have to watch how the city, community groups, and federal officials interact over the coming weeks, because what happens now could reshape day-to-day life on those blocks. In Georgia, there's a different kind of enforcement story playing out, this one inside a major industrial project. More than 300 South Korean workers were detained near Savannah in a large immigration raid linked to LG Energy Solution. What stood out was that about 44% of those detained were reportedly traveling on ESTA, the visa waiver program. If you're new to that term, ESTA lets citizens of certain countries visit the U.S. without a visa for short trips, usually up to 90 days, for tourism or basic business meetings. It's not meant for long-term employment. The allegation is that ESTA was used as a workaround to put people on job sites for extended periods, effectively staffing ongoing work without the proper employment visas. That's a big deal because the whole system depends on matching the right visa to the right purpose. When companies shortcut that, it can create safety, wage, and compliance risks for workers and open the door to serious penalties and audits for employers. For workers, the consequences can be life-changing. Detention, removal, or long bars from re-entering the U.S. can follow a single status violation. For companies, a case like this brings a wave of attention from multiple agencies: immigration enforcement, labor investigators, even tax and payroll regulators. Expect questions about who authorized what, how payroll was handled, and whether contractors or staffing firms were involved. LG Energy Solution is a major player in the battery sector, and a case of this size will likely prompt broader reviews across the industry, not just at one factory. So what's the bigger picture tying these two stories together? It's the scale and focus of enforcement. In Chicago, pressure on public spaces is pushing informal economies and family livelihoods into the shadows. In Georgia, investigators are zeroing in on how companies source and manage international labor for fast-growing projects. Different settings, same theme. The rules are being enforced more aggressively and the fallout reaches far beyond the initial arrests. Here's what I'll be watching. In Chicago, whether vendors return to their corners once the sweep winds down, and whether the city sets up any clear lanes for compliant vending so the culture isn't lost. In Georgia, what officials say about the use of ESTA, whether we see formal charges or fines and how companies adjust hiring plans. Do they shift to proper work visas or slow builds while compliance teams catch up? If you're hearing all this and thinking it feels like a turning point, you're not alone. From street markets to factory floors, these cases could shape how communities earn a living and how employers plan their projects for the rest of the year and beyond. That's it for today. Thanks for spending part of your Sunday here. We pull our reporting together at visaverge.com, so if you want more details or updates as these stories develop, that's the place. I'll talk to you soon.